You do indeed look beautiful, even though I can't see any of your faces in these bright lights. I'm just putting my name in the hat very randomly, and I'm going to entertain you with a few stories of a country that I visited about 4 years ago. Anybody here been to the wonderful place called South Africa? No? Okay. Well, South Africa is something I decided to do in between university and starting work, I guess. And it was supposed to be one of these things you do when you still have holidays in your life. It's supposed to be an epic road trip. I went with my soon-to-be roommate after university. It was our bonding experience. It was a road trip. And I have to say that we discovered one of the most epic and absolutely surprising countries in the world. And for all these ads you see on TV that say, go to South Africa because we promise you will not get gang raped and everything will be fine. There is some truth in that. Not very much truth, but there is good truth. And I'll just share a few random experiences that formed my impression of the South African people, and hopefully will make you want to visit yourselves one day. The first thing to say about South Africans, other than the fact that they speak with a very, very cool accent, is that these people have a very frontier kind of mentality. A lot of the people that went to South Africa in the 17 and 1800s were, Dutch colonists and then the British. And their descendants that live there are the sort of people that say, my granddad built this ranch for these Indians, and I'm going to defend it against everybody. And so what ends up happening is these people drive around town. If you've been to Texas, you've seen people in their pickups and four-wheel drives. They've got nothing on the South Africans. These guys have pickups that have axes and shotguns attached to the back for quick use. When we rented a car, and I'm not making this up, we got offered the flamethrower option, which is, YouTube it. It's an amazing South African invention, because the incidence of people pulling up at a red light and then getting, some carjacked, some guy jumps out of the ditch and is like, your car is my car now. That does happen a lot in South Africa. So to counter that, there are some cars, luxury cars, where you can get a flamethrower installed underneath, and it sort of funnels out to the side. And all you have to do is, if some guy is trying to, lock the door, you hit a button, and you're going barbecue thief right there. It was about 100 US a day for that option, so we refused it, even though trying to get in the national park on the baboons would have been great fun. More about baboons later. The amazing thing about South Africans is that they do have a very sort of, outdoorsy attitude towards life, and it's very refreshing after you go there from a big city. We went quad biking with this one gentleman called Johan. Most people tend to be called things like Des and Johan. They're Dutch names. We went quad biking with a gentleman called Johan, and what he calls his office is a beautiful hill overlooking the Cape. Absolutely pristine countryside. And just in the first 5 minutes we were there at his ranch on the address waiting for him. The guy wasn't there. He shows up 20 minutes late and he says, yes, sorry, I'm late. I was just saving a cyclist from an accident. And this guy just sort of, I think he basically ran over a cyclist on his way. And I decided that, it would be the right thing to do to take the cyclist to the nearest hospital, which happened to be 30 miles away. And then he saved the cyclist and came back to us and apologized he was late. And this just was made to sound like the sort of thing that happens every day. Apparently this man also wrestles zebras in his spare time. So we were out quad biking with this man on roads that can only be described as man-made, badly man-made. And we were asking him, what gave you this idea that, set up your own business out here in the countryside? And the man looked at us, he's like, I got absolutely bored with life, and I decided to make my own road. Oh, wait, you made this road? And we're on a sort of fairly hefty mountain. You could drive 2 trucks alongside on this path. He's like, yes, I made this road myself. And how long did that take you? Quite a few years. So we're quad biking along these roads, and he pulls up at this cliff. We're on the edge of a cliff, and there's a very deadly-looking plunge going down. And he stops there, and we are going to hit a minute of silence. And I go, oh, okay. What happened here, Johan? And it's like, 2 weeks ago I was out riding with this girl, and she fell down there. Yes, so you must have been at the hospital a lot these days. Like, no, we lost her. Like, wait, was this a friend of yours? No, she signed up like 2 days. And we lost her. It's like, okay, at this point we're sort of trying to call our insurance company. And then the whole tour consisted of us stopping at points where Johan had either lost someone, seen somebody go into a coma, or simply forgotten what happened. And this was on our second day in South Africa. And this was nothing compared to what was about to come. We went to this place which is aptly named East London. Now, if anyone has ever been in East London, I mean the real East London in the UK, where the Olympics just happened, it was pretty shit before the Olympics. It's, the East London in South Africa is much, much worse. Much, much worse. And our hotel had barbed wire all around the place. And when we came there, it turned out it wasn't our hotel, but it was someone's house. But they knew a hotel down the road, so we're all cool. So we asked, in East London, what's there to do nightlife-wise? So they said, why don't you go to the Action Bar by the waterfront? So we went to this bar that's called the Action and Exception Pool Bar. We don't know what the exception was about, but I think they were trying to be exceptional. And the national sport in South Africa, other than rugby and cricket, tends to be pool, so that's how people bond. You go out, they don't really go clubbing or anything like that. They go out and shoot some pool. So this is a story how we were involved in a bust of a drug gang in South Africa. We were shooting pool with some gentlemen, and what you do is you play some coins on the table, you play the winner, that's how you make some friends. So we were playing with a few of these people. We got chatting to them, what do you do? And they said, well, actually, do you guys want to buy any substance? They were clearly dealers. And they said, dealing is not very good business in South Africa at the moment. Police are having a crackdown on it. No pun intended. It was a very sort of open and frank conversation until it was absolutely clear we were playing pool against drug dealers, and we were trying our best to lose. As soon as the drug dealers beat us, we went over to the next table. Same story. Started playing pool with a few guys, got chatting, and they said, "What do you guys do?" And, they didn't want to tell us, so I was like, okay. After a few more beers, they became a bit more open. They said, well, actually, I don't know if you guys can help us. We're undercover police officers. We have been chasing one of South Africa's most notorious drug gangs through 3 states. She's like, I haven't seen my wife in 4 weeks. We haven't slept for 2 nights, but we heard they might be in East London today. Let's track them down here. And at this point, we're going, what would the moral thing to do be? If we turn around and say, yo, it's those guys right there, we might get caught in the middle of a gunfight, because most people tend to carry guns in South Africa. So we pulled the guy to one side. He was like, I'll be in the bathroom, which is a dangerous thing to say in South Africa. But the guy got the message and followed me to the bathroom, and while we were there, I said, look, the drug dealers you want, they're right there. And as it turned out, these guys not only had no idea those guys were drug dealers, they had actually played pool against each other earlier in the night, and the police had lost. So we absolutely wish you good luck. We go back to the bar, and the bartender was a girl who was about 14, as happens. And there's no one else to chat to. The drug members had been busted, so the bar was kind of emptying out. And we sort of said, do you ever get any trouble around here? And she said, yes, we get a lot of trouble. And I said, how do you deal with the trouble? And this girl was tiny, and she's like barely reached the top shelf of the liquor. She pulls out this sort of katana, some absolute blade, and slams it on the bar. And she said, this is how I deal with trouble. Whoa, and you're 14. This must be some kind of joke. How many times have you used this blade ever in your life? This is like, I actually used it earlier tonight. Like, okay, we're leaving East London, absolutely love East London. The great thing about South Africa is, you drive all up the coast, it's an absolutely beautiful country. Our very last encounter on our last day was with some, I just go to the national park to see the baboons. By this one, we had been there for 3 weeks. We felt quite brave and adventurous. Everyone else is driving around with shotguns and axes. Like, we got to do something cool. So we go into this national park, you drive your own car, and there's a lot of these huge baboons. And baboons are pretty big creatures. I mean, if you've been to LKF and feel like you've been molested, you have not been to a South African national park. These things come up to your car, go on their hind legs and slam their paws against the windowsill and try to peel off your windshield wipers. Like, we're not having any of these baboons. So go on Wikipedia, we sort of Googled baboon diet. Apparently these guys are absolute suckers for sweet potato. Okay, so in our infinite wisdom means lawless country, next thing we do, we drive to the edge of the national park. There's a big mall. We buy 10 kilograms of diced sweet potato. We got a few weird looks there. Just put it in the middle of the car. And then we drove back into the park. And there's a sign at the entrance that says baboons. It's got a big picture of this ugly baboon, and it says baboons. You feed them, we shoot them. And what that means is that if you feed a baboon, it becomes very aggressive because it's not used to getting food, externally. So the tourists are not encouraged to feed the wild animals, obviously. So if you drop a bit of sweet potato, this is verified experimentally, if you drop a bit of sweet potato into a gang of angry baboons, they will very soon start fighting with each other, become aggressive, and then start attacking all the tourist vehicles they see, and then the park rangers have to come and put them down. Hence, you feed them, we shoot them. I sing with hand on heart and with sorrow in my heart. I say that me and my roommate were responsible single-handedly for the decimation of the baboon population of Kruger National Park. Official baboon numbers have not yet recovered to levels before our visit. We basically dumped 10 kilograms of sliced sweet potato at every baboon we could see. And about 2 miles down the road behind us was a ranger driving with a shotgun and chopping them up one by one. So I'm not sure if I'm ever welcome back in South Africa, but I do encourage you to go and not try what I did. Well, thank you.